Okay, so thanks very much everybody for joining and for waiting for this session. It's a nice morning today in the UK, so hopefully it's nice where you are as well. So this session is on the IMS stream. It's the 5th session of the conference, and it's entitled DevOps and IMS, The Journey Begins. And this will be a video. So Hayley Fung has very kindly been up at 1 o'clock in the morning in Pacific time US, and she's going to play the video for us later. Now, Hayley is an IMS product manager for IMS and Ansible for Z, and she has widely done various presentations and that at conferences, global conferences before, and she has deep technical expertise. So the way the session's going to go is that she'll do a little introduction to her, she'll talk, and then we'll have the video played, and it's about 40 minutes, just 37 minutes. And then what I'd like is people to chat. You know, if you've got questions, do it on the chat to me. And then obviously we're not going to stop the video, we're just going to keep it playing, and then at the end I can field some of those questions, or if you feel you want to, we can maybe you can unmic yourself and you can actually talk at the end as well. And Hayley's said that she's okay to field questions at the video end as well. So just a couple of points. The recording that is being done, that this session is actually recorded, so just bear that in mind. Obviously you're not going to be talking in the video anyway, but during the video, but I've just got to say that. And feedback, on the slide that Hayley's got in front, there's a QR code there on the bottom right, so feedback for this session is very much appreciated. Alternatively, you can go on the agenda website and the avocado color stream for this particular session. The name of it, if you click on the name in the agenda session, it provides a link to the feedback as well, so that will be very much appreciated. We also have a couple of other points. So there's a charity this year for National Dive Blogs, and for the other one is for National Lifeboat, and for Guide Dogs for the Blind. So there's a raffle. So if you just click on the Just Giving link for Virgin, there's a raffle which you're more than welcome to join. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Hayley, and then she can sort of play the video. So over to you, Hayley.
Thank you so much, Tom. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to talk to all of you. So as Tom mentioned, that I am one of the IMS product manager, and my focus area is pretty much around modernization. So anything that you are interested in modernizing your IMS assets, whether it's transactions, database, or automation as a whole, that's pretty much my expertise and product area. And a little bit of background of myself. I might have seen some of you in conferences before. I am a frequent traveler, used to be, that taught in a number of different conferences. And I have a development background, so I picked up the product manager job like a couple of years ago. And one of the reasons why I kind of make that switch is because of my passion of working with customer, really helping them to identify the solution that they can help them to reuse and leverage existing all the investment they have put in, specific on IMS or in Z. So a lot of Java modernization, API modernization. I write code, for some of those products, and now I'm kind of, doing it from a product perspective. And one of the new area that I recently picked up is the automation side of the house. So, particularly helping our customers to modernize an environment such that they will be able to use like modern tools like Ansible and some of the DevOps tooling to help them to make their, the system is just easier to use, very easier to automate, especially from a DevOps perspective. You want to build a pipeline that is being efficient when you have like more and more code changes, and how can it be coordinated across the different platform, because many of the applications that we see right now in these days is hybrid applications. So that was kind of one of my focus area. So as Dom said, that I'm going to play the video, this presentations talking about the DevOps journey in IMS, and I will be staying with the whole session. So at the end, I'm open up for any questions that you may have or any interest area, and I'm also going to work with Dom on the chart. So if you have any questions, feel free to let us know so that I could address it at the end of the session. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play the video. Hello, welcome to the DevOps and IMS The Journey Begins presentation. My name is Haley Fong, and I am the product manager for IMS, as well as the Red Hat Ansible certified content for IBM-Z. In this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about DevOps and IMS, specifically talking about the need of a modern DevOps pipeline automation for your IMS assets. Then we're going to dive into understanding DevOps modernization journey for IMS, as well as showing you a IMS DevOps use case with a demo to show you how a modern pipeline can look like for your IMS assets. Finally, I'm going to talk to you about how to get you started. What are the considerations for sysprocs, DBAs, and developer to implement a modern DevOps pipeline for IMS? What kind of skills and tools you may need, as well as the recommended plan for implementation. DevOps and IMS, why we care. DevOps transformation has been one of the top transformation projects in many enterprises. Companies are aggressive looking for ways to optimize their application environment with a set of more integrated, automated, and end-to-end application deployment processes such that they can deliver code and new function much faster and with better quality. However, there are a number of challenges for building and implementing a modern DevOps strategy for IMS. Heavy mainframe-dependent skills and tools, siloed application deployment processes, lack of integrated infrastructure and configuration automations are often the key challenges to adopt a modern DevOps processes for IBM-Z and IMS. Implementing a modern pipeline is one of the key criteria to have a successful DevOps strategy in the enterprises because they bring in three key values: standardization, single CI/CD pipeline implementation, and continuous deployment in an application environment. A pipeline is a set of end-to-end, fully automated processes and tasks that helps you to provision, configure, deploy, and test your application assets. A modern pipeline embraces open standard that provides the flexibility on the tools that you can use to build the pipeline. It enables a standard way for delivering your application using any DevOps tools of your choice, as long as it supports the open standard, including the open source-based tools. Having a single and fully integrated DevOps pipeline improves collaborations and reduces frictions between the teams. Especially many applications today are hybrid cloud-based, meaning that, for example, the application may have a web client front-end running in the cloud, an API running on ZOS Connect, as well as backend IMS COBOL applications or data running on IBM-Z. When the application changes, these components may need to be updated all at the same time. While existing automation may already in place to update individual components, but they are often siloed and not coordinated. Therefore, having a single CI/CD pipeline that helps to coordinate and update all these components, including components running on IBM-Z, will bring tremendous values and efficiency in improving the application delivery. At the end, all of these can help you to accelerate application delivery and be able to release better software and faster. Now let's take a look at what makes up a pipeline. A pipeline is a sequence of fully automated processes that drives your application to delivery. Different customers may have different steps and tools in the pipeline, but they are normally consist of coding, building, provisioning and configure, deploy, and then all the way to test, deliver, and release your code. For example, your developer may start coding in an IDE. He or she developed the code, build, unit test in her local environment. And then after the testing is successful, she will push her changes to an SCM, a source control management tool. Next is the build step, in which a build tool will extract the code from the SCM, merge them, checks for code quality, and then compile, build them into binary modules. These binary modules are often stored in an Artifactory repository and being versioned. Now the application is ready to be deployed and tested. A test environment may need to be first being provisioned and configured first. The application binary then will then be downloaded from the artifact repository and then deployed into the appropriate location, maybe a specific library or a set of datasets. Finally, a test suite will be kicked off and run against that newly deployed application. If the test result is successful, the application may go through additional final set of approvals before it got released into the environment. After the official release of the code will be continued to be monitored to make sure that there's no degradation of performance or other errors that may need to take further action. And then after that, we go back to the planning phase. You may have new business requirements come in, new work will be planned. There may be some application analysis that need to take place to identify which portion of the code need to be updated and changed, and then assigning the work to a developer to implement the change. One of the beauty of a modern pipeline is it embraces your choice of tools that can be used in the pipeline. In the traditional DevOps processes for mainframe, we often support only a limited set of tools, and they are mainframe proprietary and dependent. However, in the distributed and cloud environment, they support a great set of open standard tools that provide the flexibility for integration. Therefore, it is very important for IBM Z to do the same and embraces open standard for DevOps tooling and supporting the IBM Z assets, which allows you to use any open standard tools to manage the IBM Z application assets just like any other environment. Here's an example of some of the popular DevOps tools in the modern pipeline. They may be IBM tools, vendor tools, or open source tools as well. For example, IBM Z now support a number of popular IDE like IDZ, VS Code, or Red Hat Code Ready that allows your newer developer to be able to code, edit, debug, build, and unit test a traditional mainframe application like in COBOL or PL1 in their application development tools of choice. Ansible is also a very popular tooling for automation, and now with the Red Hat Ansible certified content from IBM Z, you can use Ansible to automate your application environment for provisioning, configuration, as well as deployment your application assets. You can also use Urban Code Deploy to manage your application deployment, and then you can use popular tools like Galaska or the IBM testing tools to help you to run automated test suites against your application assets. After your application is being tested and deployed, you can use AppDynamics, OmegaMon or ZAPM to monitor your application performance and provide your application execution insights. These tools all embrace open standard and can plug into an existing pipeline to include application delivery into your mainframe environment. Now, to further help you to understand the DevOps journey for IMS, I'm going to show you a simple demo to illustrate how a modern pipeline for IMS can look like. In this demo, I'm going to show you a very simple but yet modern pipeline that a developer uses a modern IDE of her choice to update a COBOL application and save the changes in a modern SCM like GitHub. As soon as the updates are being saved, it will trigger a pipeline to run a build with a new version of the application code with the changes. An application environment will also be provisioned with the new version of the application code being deployed. Then the application change will be tested and verified. All these steps will be automated and running end-to-end in the pipeline. For this demo, I will be the application developer. I'm assigned the task to fix an account balance issue with an application called Bank of Z, which consists of a front-end web application running on the cloud and access the IMS transaction and data hosted on IBM Z. The issue is that when customers are assessing their account balance, Bank of Z incorrectly returns a balance of 0 for all accounts, as you can see here. A change needs to be made to address the issue. I'm going to use a popular IDE, VS Code, which I am already familiar with. IBM now provides a number of VS Code plugins which can assist you in editing, debugging, and building COBOL and PL1 application inside VS Code. I can load the COBOL application source code directly from GitHub into VS Code. I can then display and navigate through the code that I need by finding the account summary function, which I know is implemented by a COBOL application called IBEXSUM. I can use the outline view to help me to see the structure of the program, get to the account summary function, which seems to be the likely place for the error to be occurred. To find the error in the code, I'm going to use the debugger. I set the breakpoint on line 219, where I know that it's being called to get the account balance. And then using the debug panel on the top, I will hit continue to run the program until the breakpoint at 219. Then I'm going to step in line by line, examining the contents of the local variables to determine what is happening to the account balance by using the step-in function. I can check the values that each line execute until reaching the line 224, where I can see it moves zeros to the account balance. It is clear that line 224 is the cause of the issue, and you can see the effect in the local variable view on the upper left-hand corner. Now I have identified the issue, I can proceed with fixing the code. In order not to affect the master branch before my changes pass testing, I create a new branch called account balance. Branching is really powerful because it allows developers to work in different versions of the code at the same time without affecting others. I can use the user build function in VS Code to build and then test my code locally. Once I have tested my code in the local branch, I'm ready to check in and commit my code to the master branch in GitHub that will be merged with other developers' code. To request a build of the new version of the code, I will create a merge request in the master repository. The merge request will automatically trigger a Jenkins DevOps pipeline to run. Jenkins is a very popular open source-based pipeline tool, and I have set it up previously to connect to the GitHub repository such that whenever there's a merge request, a new version of the code will be built, deployed automatically. I can log on to the Jenkins web interface to view the progress of the Bank of Z DevOps pipeline execution. As you can see, this pipeline extracts the updated code from GitHub and then use the dependency-based build to build a new version of the application binaries. Next, the pipeline provision an application environment and deploy the updated application to IMS for testing. Let's take a look at how the pipeline interacts with IMS to provision the application environment and have the updated application deployed. To automate and connect the IMS application provisioning and deployment processes to the pipeline, I use the Ansible collections from the Red Hat Ansible certified content from IBM Z offering to create 2 Ansible playbooks. These playbooks are often built by the DevOps engineer or the IMS system programmer to create new modern automation processes for the IMS system, which can then be called by the pipeline or used by the application developer to update their applications and environments. The first playbook provision an IMS application environment, as you can see in this example. The second playbook redeploys the Bank of C application and uses the ZOS core and IMS collections. The second playbook copy the updated application modules in the right dataset, and then it uses the IMS commands to restart the IMS region. As you can see, you can use the IMS collection as part of the Ansible for C offering to issue an IMS commands. Or if you have an JCL that do a similar task, you can have Ansible to leverage your existing automation by calling the JCL directly. Finally, the pipeline runs the integration test at the end to validate the changes. It also monitors the performance of the system and let us know if there's any performance issue in the code after the successful execution of the Jenkins pipeline. Now the pipeline has completed, let's go back to the Bank of C application and verify that the changes that I made have been successfully fixed the account balance issue. You can see the account balances are now fixed. They are no longer showing up as zeros, so the changes that I made have resolved the issue. Now putting them all together, let's take a look how we can help you to get started on your DevOps modernization journey for IMS. To get started, there are three main steps. First is to understand the use cases. You have to understand what kind of processes that you have today for your application delivery, what type of processes that you will need to integrate into a modern pipeline. For example, the processes and tasks involved in modifying an existing application will be very different for deploying a new application in a new environment. Next, to implement the new DevOps environment, what are the IMS system programmers and DBAs need to consider? One example, it might be to look at what your existing automation is in place and how does it play a role in a modern pipeline. Finally, you will need to test the new DevOps processes for your environment. What you may have to consider is what kind of tools that will we need to use for this new modern pipeline, as well as how do you get started, how do you get installed, what kind of skills that will be involved. Let's take a look at the common IMS DevOps use cases. The first one
Yeah, so hopefully you can hear me all. Just we're trying to get Haley back now. She's obviously dropped the line, so we'll try and get her back. So here's an intermission, but I can't play any music. I'm sorry. Just bear with us. Hopefully she'll be back in 5 minutes, but in the meantime, probably just have to wait. So appreciate it. We'll try and get her back as soon as we can. Thank you. Hi, Haley. Thanks for coming back.
Yes, I'm sorry that I think I lost my connection, Wi-Fi at home.
No problem.
So I'm trying to reset right now just to let you guys know. I think I just
Yeah,
disappeared.
no problem.
Um,
I have been communicating with them, so they all know. So don't worry. Just take
yeah,
your time.
I don't know what is the best way to continue. I'm still trying to get my network kind of coming back.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so give me just a minute. I may have to restart my computer. That will be the worst scenario, but let me just go ahead and do it right now so I'm not wasting more time.
No problem.
But I do want to, while I'm waiting for my computer to kind of restart and get back, let me just go ahead and restart it. Maybe I can take this chance to see whether
Yeah.
there's any questions. I do see in the chat that I was just about to um, kind of answer that question, and that network drop. I hope I didn't actually accidentally hit on some of the button that actually caused this to disconnect. So I'm on the other side. I'm restarting my laptop right now. So I apologize. I'm kind of looking from different screens to actually do the work. Okay. So I think I want to kind of answer one of the questions that was being asked in the demo about the VS Code debugging. So in the demo that you saw, the VS Code part of debugging actually is debugging live. So it has to, there's a VS Code plugin as just part of the IBM WASI offering that allows you to be able to connect to the host component of the IBM to do the debugging live. Now, I think the questions in the chart is specific asking for, is there anything that they can actually do it like offline or playback? I'm not aware of that from a debugging perspective, but there is a test tool called that was one of the newer tooling, is a testing capability that you actually capture the testing data ahead of time. So that is very convenient for the developers, especially if they want to do some unit testing ahead of time without them have to actually connect it to Node to actually do some of the early testing based on some of the capture input and output message data. So I don't know whether I address all the questions because I think this is the two different things. From the debugging perspective, definitely is live. But if you want to do kind of more offline testing capability, you can also do that with an other IBM DevOps product. So give me a minute. Let me just try to log back into my computer, see whether I actually fixed the issue. Any other questions while I'm trying to get back to work here?
Yeah, I mean, I had one, but just it was just because you had scheduled JCL for some of the deployment. Can you link that into your own scheduling tool, or is that not really required? Or I mean, obviously on development, you don't necessarily link into scheduling tools, but you might need to if you were going to do like performance testing. But I guess it might not be suitable for that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I show in particular for the demo is the part that how the DevOps pipeline is actually. Well, sorry, I think I kind of look weird. the DevOps pipeline interacting with some of the automation tools to help you to set up the system, right? So if your existing automation on your mainframe side is a bunch of scheduler with like JCL, that's kind of the beauty of Ansible, is because it's very flexible. So one of the reasons I want to showcase the Ansible is because is a lot of our customers want to modernize their automation environment as well. So instead of you have to find developers that know how to write JCL for automation, now you can start to do a mix, right? You can have automation, engineer comes in that they may be knowing Ansible from their distributed or cloud world, and they can start writing automation, right, using Ansible for your IBMC and IMS system. And then you can also have them interact with existing JCL automation as well. So it's kind of like a combination of both.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's, Ansible is the offering that we have, which is Ansible for IBMC, is actually very flexible, allowing you to build what we call the building new automation as well. Okay, so my laptop is coming back up now. I just have to log in. I hope I didn't lose too many attendees, and I again apologize for issue.
Yeah, no problem. I think if you can have another try, but your video, your connection seemed to go down a little bit in the last minute.
Yeah.
We haven't got a local copy of it, but I guess there's no slide. You can't do a slide alternative either. We can have a retry, I think.
Yep, I will do one more time. And actually, maybe I could do. Let's see. I think I'm back. All right, so I think my network is back. So give me another minute so that I will get logged in back to Zoom.
No problem. And thanks for waiting, everybody, as Haley said. Appreciated. Still got 13 in the room, so it's 13 on it, so that's good.
So much.
So have we got any? We've got some other questions actually coming in. So Atul has just got a question. Are you auto capturing any productivity metrics in your pipelines?
You mean like how fast, or kind of like the application deployment? Probably a little bit more context.
Yeah, so it's yes, and speed of delivery says.
I'll address that question in a minute. So let me just.
Okay.
Can you let me in again? I wonder if I have to disconnect this one first. Just. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Okay, so should I go ahead and play the go back to play the video, or should I kind of finish up some of the questions? Any?
I think we haven't got any more questions in the room. I don't. Oh, yeah. I think those are all the questions we've got so far. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah,
let's go for it. Maybe we could play it from where we left off if we can do that.
Yep, sounds good. Let me do that. And I also actually want. Let me just go ahead and start sharing. All right, so I think we are back in business, and
Voila, yes, can see. So we can see a slide and we can see your opening slide.
so I think I am about right here.
Yeah, I think you're about possibly 25 minutes in, something like that. Yeah,
25 minutes.
that's a guess.
I'll just replay the beginning of this slide. How about that?
Yeah, go for that.
Let's take a look at the common IMS DevOps use cases. The first one is about preparing the IMS environment for dev and test. Often you will have to provision a new application environment to test a new version of your application. That may involve some configuration changes due to the change of the application as well. The second use case, which is one of the most common use case, is to update an existing IMS application. In this use case, you will have to recompile the application code with the changes, and you may have other IMS resource changes like PSB or DBT changes associated with that application change request. The third use case is to deploy a brand new IMS application. In this particular use case, you will need to understand what type of application that you are deploying, whether it is a COBOL application, PL1 application, or an IMS Java application. Different types of application will need different types of build tools to build the application binary modules. New applications also often requires new resource creation as well. For example, you may have to create a new PSB, you have to create the new transactions or program resources, and then you have to go through the gen process to have those resources and data being created and populated. Finally, it's about the use case for hybrid cloud. We have seen increasing numbers of use cases to deploy a hybrid cloud-based IMS application. This type of application consists of multiple components that needs to be deployed in different environments. For example, you may have a front-end application, client application running in Liberty in the cloud or distributed platform. You will have a set of API artifacts that need to be deployed in ZOS Connect on the IBM Z, as well as the backend COBOL IMS transaction and database running on the C platform. Once you understand the use case involved in your application processes, then you as a IMS expert or DBAs will need to understand how those processes will impact you. So it is very important that you get involved and participate in the DevOps discussion early on. Understand what is needed to do the build, what kind of processes will be used in the pipeline, determine what the application developers is doing. Are they just modifying the existing COBOL application, or they need to define or update existing resources in IMS? Then you will need to understand what are the needs to claim success. Is there something that you need to install brand new to support the pipeline? Are there existing automation that you can reuse and integrate into this process? And then what are the current gaps? What are the new automation needs to be built? And what kind of tools need to be installed to make this new pipeline integrating IMS application resources to be successful? Here are some specific samples and responsibility for IMS procs and DBAs to enable a success DevOps modernization journey for IMS. First, to deploy the IMS application using modern DevOps tools, you need to determine the applicable IMS commands to support the pipeline and interact with IMS. Some of the commands that is being used for application deployment include starting and stopping the dependent regions, the databases, transactions, and programs, as well as creating and deleting those resources. These commands will typically be executed remotely from the pipeline engine. Therefore, you will need to set up CSL, SCI, and the OM address base to support the execution of these IMS commands from the pipeline. IMS Connect may need to be set up as well depending on where your pipeline engine runs, such that a remote execution of these commands will become available. You also have to define the user ID that will be used by your pipeline to execute this command. So you have to have careful consideration what kind of user ID, what kind of authority can be given to these user ID, and have it being able to run these commands from your pipeline engine to deploy your application. Another area is around the dependent regions. When you deploy an updated application or deploy a brand new application, you have to understand which dependent regions may be affected. So you will have to define processes to allow a modified program or a new program to be implemented. For modification, when the program is in multiple regions, check to see if the update program refresh commands can be used or if the regions need to be recycled. You may have to set up JCL for new regions or use the Ansible for IMS collection to help you to set up those regions as well. And making sure that all these new commands, JCL or Ansible processes, playbooks, can be invoked from your DevOps pipeline. The third area around the database, PSB, transactions, and program definition. So when you are updating existing application, you may need to make changes to those resources as well. And if you are deploying a brand new application, you will need to create and define those new databases, PSB, transaction, and program resources. So you have to coordinate with the application environment to determine if any changes needs to be made to the existing resources or if new one needs to be created. Define the action applicable to your environment that can be integrated into the DevOps process or having done separately, right? Based on how you control the system, for example, like, how do you actually call the PSB and DVD and ACB gens, as well as the IMS manage ACBs, catalog and DDL, etc., and all the commands and JCL. Make sure that you define those processes, whether they can be driven by an IMS command that can be callable from the DevOps pipeline, or maybe you can use Ansible to help you to invoke an existing JCL or call those commands directly that can be callable from your new DevOps processes as well. So new DevOps processes, automation may need to be created in this area for defining your new resources. And another consideration is, will you need to have access other non-IMS resources like DB2 as well? If so, you have to kind of look at what type of automations that can be built or reused in order to define or update resources that is outside of IMS. Once you determine and understand the processes and tasks that will be involved in the application deployment for the new DevOps pipeline, what you will have to do as a IMS Sysprop and DBAs is to understand and discover what kind of modern DevOps tools can help you to implement those automation and changes. So for example, you may want to find out how to be able to use a DevOps tool to call out to existing JCL for existing automation for application deployment. You may want to determine how you'll be able to implement brand new automation using the modern DevOps tools to automate your existing manual process. Those, for example, IMS command that you execute manually in Spark. And you may also need to have to build new automation, for example, orchestrating multiple silos processes together such that it has a more cohesive end-to-end automated processes. As I show in the demo, some of the common and really useful tools is like Ansible, right? We have the Ansible for Z offering that allows you to build Ansible playbook to either leverage your existing JCL by calling your JCL directly or building brand new Ansible playbook to automate your IMS operation task that is part of the offering. You may also want to learn about how other people involved in the DevOps pipeline, what kind of tooling that they will be used to make sure that the processes that you're building will be able to integrate with them. For example, you may work with your DevOps engineer to understand how to deploy the application, in different version. They may be using Urban Code Deploy to manage the application deployment and environment processes. So you have to make sure that your IMS deployment processes will work with Urban Code Deploy or other application deployment tool. The DevOps engineer may also work with DBB or Artifactory and Git to manage the source code as well. So when the code module is being built and have it copied to some IMS library and dataset, you make sure that you will also share the information with the DevOps engineer to help them to build the automation to achieve those tasks. As well as your application developer, it is always good to understand what kind of tools, what kind of needs the application developer may need. For example, they may need to set up an application environment for them to do the initial development and testing. That may involve some automation to create an IMS environment that the developer can be used, and those can be achieved by provisioning an IMS application environment by using Ansible, or calling existing JCL to create them the IMS resources and have it invocable from a pipeline. So having been involved in those discussions, working with the different persona to discover the right tools, like what kind of tools that they use and how is it going to be integrated with IMS, will be very valuable in that DevOps journeys and implementation process. To build a end-to-end and robust automated DevOps pipeline for your IMS application delivery processes is going to be a long journey. So we're going to share with you a few steps to get you started with an implementation roadmap. Step 1. To implement a modern DevOps processes for your IMS resources, we recommend you to leverage your existing application deployment processes that you already have in place. For example, you may have many JCLs, Rex programs, or even ZOSMF workflow to help you to do application environment provisioning, right? Issuing commands to manage your IMS resources, running gens, creating databases, loading data, and so forth. All these existing automation can still be reused and invocable from the pipeline by utilizing, for example, like Ansible. We highly recommend to explore the Red Hat Ansible certified content from IBMC offering, because Ansible is one of the most popular automation platform in the enterprises. And you may already be using Ansible as the automation platform for your distributed and cloud environment in your enterprise. So by leveraging Ansible, you can easily write Ansible playbook. It's sort of like a set of scripts that allow the pipeline to be able to call your existing JCL or other automation. You can also write brand new Ansible playbook and utilizing the Ansible collection modules, part of the Ansible for Z offering, to build new automation on your Z platform without any mainframe skills. So Ansible is a very good skills in our recommendation for your IMS Sprout to pick up and learn, as well as we highly recommend your IMS Sprout to also collaborate with other Ansible skills people in your company as well, because Ansible offering do allow very minimal requirement of learning the Z skills to build the playbook. So you may have your Ansible team actually building the automation playbook for your IMS, and you will just provide consultations to help those teams that have existing Ansible build skills to build the new automation for your IBM Z and IMS environments. Step 2, moving forward, we highly recommend you to explore new ways to update existing processes without having to understand JCL. So for example, you may start replacing some of your existing JCL by rewriting them using Ansible, such that they can execute the same process but without the dependency on JCL knowledge. We also highly recommend you any of the new automation that you're going to put into your IMS application deployment environment. Try to also exploit Ansible as the tools and skills to build new automation. And IMS is proud you can pick up these new skills to start writing Ansible playbook, or you can again collaborate with your Ansible expert teams such that you can provide consultation to have them to implement this new automation on scene. In the previous steps, you can build new automation using open standard tools like Ansible such that the new automation processes can be easily integrated into a modern pipeline with almost no mainframe skills required. We also encourage you to go collaborate and engage Ansible skills from the other teams such that IBM Z automation processes can be built the same way as other platform and environment. Once you have successes, you can now start building new automation processes in a bigger scale. For example, you can start orchestrating manual or silo processes to create more cohesive end-to-end automated processes. You can build application infrastructure provisioning by leveraging the power of Ansible. Ansible, for example, can help you to provision IMS TMDB system from scratch. You can also build automation across different systems, like from Z to non-Z as well. This is extremely powerful to support hybrid cloud application deployment when you have multiple application and components running in different platforms. So for your references, I also want to share with you a number of IBM DevOps and Ansible offerings that can help you with your IMS DevOps modernization journey. So first of all is the modern IDE and SCM. So these are the tools to help especially developer to use a modern popular integrated development environment to manage code, build and test and debug the traditional COBOL or PL1 application. So some of the examples including the IBM provider IDC as well as other vendors tooling, for example, like the Visual Studio Code. Particularly for Visual Studio Code, not only that you can use it to code a COBOL PL1 application, you can also use it to do Java development as well as to do your Ansible playbook. And finally, another popular tool is called Git. That is a modern SCM, the source managed control tooling, which allow parallel development, and many of the developer on the distributed on the cloud platform has been using that to store and manage the source code. Another tooling that I would like to share with you is the Red Hat Ansible Certified Content from IBM Z. This is an offering initiated by IBM to provide you the Ansible automation platform experience for your IBM Z access. With a set of certified content Ansible collections as well as sample playbooks, it improves the efficiency for helping you to automate the IBM Z access, as well as it enables you a unified strategy for your automation experience by being able to use the same toolset to automate your IBM Z cloud or distributed access. It has been well received by our clients. We have more than 30,000 downloads, and we have many attendees at the conferences that represented this offering. Ansible for Z, not only that can help you to automate your IBM Z access, including IMS, but we also offer additional collections and content like sample playbook that can help you to utilize Ansible to automate your other middleware IBM Z product. For example, like Kix, ZOS Connect, DB2, MQ, WebSphere. You can also use it with UCD to call Ansible playbook, system automation, ZHMZ, ZOSMF, as well as ZOS Broker in the future. The IBM WASI developer is also a very popular and powerful offering from the IBM DevOps tools. It enables the application developer to choose his or her own preferred IDE, whether it's a Visual Studio Code, Red Hat Code Ready Workspaces, or Eclipse-based IDC to work on the traditional COBOL or PL1 applications. It provides built-in support for code editing, assistance, debugging, and build, and testing as well. In addition, it also provides the WASI sandbox, such that the developer can has his or her own virtualized, personalized ZOS environment for doing the development work and testing. Another tooling I want to share is the IBM Z Virtual Test Platform, which provides you transaction level testing during the build phase. So with this product, which supports IMS today, you can record the actual application and be able to execute tests without dependency on the middleware so that you can actually do early testing in the development phase. In summary, to get started with IMS and DevOps, we encourage you to identify the DevOps and automation pain points in your environment today. Start collaborating with your DevOps team, working with the IMS environment, try out some of the tools and samples that we have recommended to today. And lastly, if you have any questions, you need help, don't hesitate to contact IBM. We can provide you the expertise to help you to get started. Thank you so much for joining this presentation. I hope that you find the information in this presentation being useful to you. Again, if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is listed in this chart. Please complete the session evaluation form and have a nice day.
Okay, so thanks very much, everybody, Haley, for that. Obviously, we had the gremlin in between, but that's hopefully we sorted that out in the end. So the questions, we've got only about 3 minutes left, so I think we could go on for a little bit longer if we like. But what I'll do is I'll just open it up to questions. If anybody has got any questions, then they can unmute themselves. So just bear with me. I should be able to do that. Ask all to unmute. Yeah, so I've unmuted everybody. So if you want to directly ask a question to Haley now at the end, then please do so by just unmuting yourself and then ask your question. I think Haley's just answered one of them, which came in that last tranche. So Atul, is that a good answer and a sufficient answer from Haley?
Yeah, I mean, just to add to it is, I think the whole theme about what I'm kind of presenting is there is a lot of flexibility and choices in terms of how you want to do the DevOps, right? Whether you already have an enterprise level of DevOps pipeline, you want to add IMS piece into that pipeline, right? So you may have existing SCM to help you to manage some of the application deployment, right? Backout or auditing choices. And what the message I want to share with you is a lot of those can be orchestrated with like Ansible or some of the tools. So you don't have to actually build everything from scratch. But the pain point, what customers have for modernizing DevOps is they have some modern tools used by a distributed platform. There are mainframe tools used by the mainframe team, but those two don't connect because mainframes tends to have their own tooling perspective, right? And so there is a lot of, including IBM and other vendors, we are kind of building all the middle kind of connecting product just to make sure that the mainframe existing tooling, DevOps tooling, automation can also be connected to the new standard automation and DevOps pipeline. Now, so that to me will be a recommendation to all of you to kind of looking at it is to see how we can have those kind of connect together, but eventually try to replace, optimize, and stuff like that. A lot of customers is really looking for things that are not automated at this point, and they want to build something new to make things more efficient and automate more. Yeah, so I think that kind of summarized what I have, and again, kind of my last speech to everyone is I hope this is just the beginning of our kind of discussion, right? If you have any questions, I'm happy to set up any further one-on-one, right? Because especially with DevOps, it really depends on the environment. So it's better off if we kind of talk to you individually to understand your pain points and kind of help you to build out a plan, right? What kind of things that you can actually start integrating into supporting a modern pipeline. So my email again is on the chart. So feel free to reach out to me, contact. We are happy to set up any additional sessions for free that we can actually talk more.
That's great. I mean, I'd also like to just ask a brief. It's all about the benefits of doing the whole orchestration, the whole thing. Now, obviously, all the setups for all the different things you're having to set up here. You're having to set up a lot of different things and having to talk now. Normally, in a mainframe environment where they've got test scripts that they're doing for like 50 program, 10 programs, 30 programs are going live in a particular release, say, and those are say for an application. So there'd be a lot of setting up of this, whether or not it's within the mainframe or not, surely. So what I'm saying is, I can see that there might be an overall benefit when we do iterations of those testing, systems testing and regression testing, that kind of thing, for all of those things. But the setup is still going to be quite big. So is it that in the end, an overall benefit of speed for delivery? Presumably there is, or else you won't be doing it. But it seems to me that there'd be a lot of setting up in advance.
That's true. I mean, I think it depends. Again, I kind of get back to each of the clients. It's really, depends on the setup that you need, right? And there are pieces actually will surprise you. It's actually the setup may not be a lot. It depends on the different areas, because that, kind of getting back to the point is, to me, does it worth the investment to put on all the effort to do all these new things, and what is really the return of the overall benefit, right? And totally understand. And that's why kind of the discussion, especially we work with a lot of clients, we help them to kind of identify the piece that can bring them most value first. That's what we're going to tackle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if there's something that is definitely, it takes manual steps to do it, why don't we just go and tackle and automate it, right? If there's something is kind of missing the pipeline as a whole, that's how we kind of tackle it. And there are some pieces is more complicated, some pieces are even more straightforward. Just having maybe a simple orchestration by having like a Jenkins pipeline calling your existing automation, that is actually very straightforward to do. But then you will start connecting the two, kind of application environment together. Yeah. So that's why I will have to say this is a hot topic. A lot of clients interested, but they are very confused because there's so many options and so many environments. So, and I hope some of the details in the trust can help at least to kind of start some thoughts in some of the area that you might be interested in, and then we can, talk to you more in a more specific, deep dive discussion is what actually can give you the best benefit.
No,
and
totally
just
get that.
Right, and just for information, I actually have another presentation, purely talking about Ansible and IMS. And so we're gonna do more deep dive about what Ansible can do in terms of provisioning and application deployment perspective, and how does it work with other tools like Open Code Deploy and stuff like that. So if anyone interested, feel free again to contact me. Then I'm happy to follow with other discussions.
That's great. Now, what I'd like to say is we'll probably have to wrap up now. We're 5 minutes past the hour. I know we had the intermission, of course. So if we've got any burning question that anyone just wants to ask, the last one, then speak now, I think. Okay, so I don't think we've got anything. So, but what we'd like to do is thank you very much indeed for bearing with us, everybody that stayed. And there was actually a few people did go, but that's fine. We've still got 10 people on the chat, so we'd just like to thank you, Hayley, for being with us today, spending this very early hours of the morning for you, and to taking time to do this video. And it was certainly the questions were good, and good responses and good video. So I'm quite enthusiastic about it. So it's thank you very much indeed. Now, everybody, if you've got any feedback, just the feedback is on the website. If you go onto the agenda website, the avocado color is the IMS stream. If you click on this presentation, then you get feedback link, or you can use that QR code which is on the foil right at the beginning of the presentation. We'll have a video playback available at the end of the conference. So with that, I'll wrap up and say thank you very much indeed, everybody, and virtual round of applause. Well done, and thanks very much, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.